If you're a product manager and you've been working for some time, you need to understand what the product career progression actually looks like. If you don't understand how it works, you are definitely going to get stuck, burnt out, or both. I'm going to give you a dead simple way of thinking about career progression so that by the end of this video, you will clearly know whether you're moving forward in your career or stuck. First of all, most PMs are stuck in autopilot. This is not just product managers. This is pretty much everybody that is working out there. It's very easy to get stuck. Product managers specifically have an easier time kind of switching to autopilot than others for two reasons. Number one, you're either impact focused. That means you're just trying to get things done and you're not really thinking about your career. Or option two, you're mission focused. You've got an idea. You want to work for some specific mission. You have a passion around some area or product or industry or vertical. The same thing happens where your career kind of gets left behind because you're working out of passion. Those two reasons are usually why product managers are prone to kind of switching into autopilot mode for their career and not really progressing. So let's think, what are you actually optimizing for, or what have you been optimizing for, or most importantly, what are you planning to optimize for? What is actually important for you? It could be compensation, so money, sort of an easy one to think about. It could be you're optimizing to solve meaningful problems, help the world in a small or big way. A lot of PMs are motivated by that. It could be growth, meaning progression itself. You want the opportunity for growth. Or it could be just having fun and building stuff. That's fine also. The last bucket is you're looking for work-life balance, which means you've got other things going on in your world, in your life, and you want to optimize for those. It's also known as rest and vest in big tech, where you've got a nice cushy job, you're getting a big compensation, but you don't have to work the 40, 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. Those are the 5 buckets that you could be optimizing for in your product career. And it's very important to actually have this conversation with yourself, sit down and write out what you're actually optimizing for. If you don't know what you're gunning for, you can't really expect to get there. As a product manager, if you're in the United States, and if you're able to move to geography, San Francisco, Seattle, or New York, then from a compensation perspective, your opportunity will be a lot greater than someone who is not able to work from those geographies. For simplicity's sake, let's assume that you can top out as a $1 million PM in San Francisco or a $400,000 PM outside of the big tech hubs, and that's your compensation. If you're going for compensation, that's a pretty clear path to go for. And if you're optimizing for the financial part, then you may as well get to San Francisco as soon as possible because that's going to increase the potential for compensation that you can get. If you're optimizing for solving meaningful problems, now you can actually look way beyond top tech. If you're going for compensation, it's primarily top tech. It's the most sure way of getting that compensation. But if you're optimizing for solving meaningful problems, well, then you should really be looking at a lot of early stage startups. You're not actually going to find meaningful problems in top tech. But what that means is if this is what you're optimizing for, you want to make a difference, then you should be looking broadly and you should be creating opportunity. You should be reaching out to folks that don't have a job listed and just trying to see if you can help make a difference. The third path is growth. If you're going for growth, that means you want future opportunity to get better jobs, to get more money, to have the freedom to choose what you work on and which verticals or industries you work in. That means you should optimize for marketability. That means you've got to have recognizable names on your resume. You've got to have meaningful impact on your resume. You have to become a lot of demonstrated solutions to a lot of people. So that usually means top tech companies if you don't already have them in your resume. And if you do already have them, then you have to pick up some impact, scope, vertical specific, industry specific insights or expertise that will make you interesting to lots of other companies. If you're optimizing for fun and building stuff, top tech is not going to help. There's not a lot of fun to be had over there, frankly. The best path here is just to start something of your own. And finally, if you're optimizing for work-life balance, well, that will reduce the opportunities that you have down the line because reputation travels. And also, if you are optimizing for work-life balance, that means you're not likely to be trying very hard. So overall, it is fine to optimize for that. And there's certainly times in your career that you may want to do that, but just know that it will have a little bit of an impact on the rest of your career after that when you may switch into a different optimization. And the best path for that is, of course, top tech companies, not a lot of threats to their fundamental business model. Basically, any company that's big, substantial, lots of different orgs and teams and freedom to move around, and a lot of predictability around the business model and the revenue cycles. Okay, so those are the different optimization paths. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the natural kind of end game or progression for product managers. Because product managers are always thinking about customer value and business value, they're actually the best position to take on leadership positions inside the company. That could mean head of product, but that could also mean CEO or other leader of an org or the company. That means that really a good sense of progression for product managers is an increase in the scope, an increase in the number of people and resources that you have access to, an increase in the ownership from a P&L perspective, profit and loss perspective, of certain org divisions or the entire company. So that's the natural progression for a product manager. Of course, you don't have to do that depending on what you're optimizing for. So let's get to the checklist. Here's how to know whether you're actually moving forward along this path or are getting stuck. Whether or not it's in your control is a separate question. My recommendation is to be proactive, plan these things in advance, know what you're optimizing for, and then understand how to get there. Here's how to know if you're moving forward. Take a look over the last couple of years of your work. Did you increase the scope of your work? Did you take on more features, more products, more product areas? Did you expand the scope of your work? Number two, did you increase the revenue? Are you effectively generating more revenue for the company or the org from your efforts over the last 2 years? $1 million before, 2 million now, 5 million later, etc. Number three, more customers. Are you dealing with more customers or more users? How many users or customers do you impact? Number four is resources. Do you have more resources now than you've had in the past over the last few years? More resources, I mean, in terms of financial resources, but most importantly, human resources, which means the size of your cross-functional team and your own team. The next one is how much tactical versus strategic work do you do now, and what has been the progression over the last few years? Is it more strategic work, meaning why or how we should do something rather than the specifics of the thing being done? And are you thinking more long-term versus short-term time horizons? Finally, this is the compensation piece. Look at how much you've made this year versus the previous year versus the year prior. Product managers should really think about themselves very much as startup owners or entrepreneurs. Their income should be going up year after year after year. Otherwise, they're not really that effective from a career perspective. You might be exceptionally effective at delivering impact for your company or doing good work in the world, but from a career perspective, a business owner, entrepreneur, or a startup owner is not doing very well if year after year after year after year, they are not making more money. So you could just look at your tax return or look at your own income statements, and you understand the answer to that one. So now you can do a little self-assessment, go through this checklist and see where you land for all of these areas. We're talking scope, revenue, users, resources, people, strategy, time horizon, and most importantly, compensation. If you're looking for a job in 2025 as a PM, this is what you can expect right now in the market. Inside the Product Career Accelerator, we work with hundreds of product managers, and we get a lot of different offers. We get a lot of different interviews, so we get a broader sense of what's actually happening in the market, especially in top tech companies. If you're looking for your next role, by the way, you can schedule a time to speak with our team using the link in the description, because inside the Product Career Accelerator, this is exactly what we do. We work with proactive, experienced PMs to help them land their next high-paying top tech job. So in 2025, what are we seeing? Of course, we're seeing layoffs continue. However, in terms of interview scheduling, in terms of offers handed out and the numbers themselves, it's actually quite strong. 2025 is significantly stronger than 2024, which is in itself stronger than 2023. 2022, early 2023, the layoffs began. 2024, the market was rough, but we were still starting to see some traction in terms of interviews and offers. In 2025, that trend has largely continued. I'm going to give you a few pointers of how you yourself can get a sense of how things are going. Go to LinkedIn and just type in product manager in the entire United States or product manager in San Francisco, Seattle, New York, or your metro. Look at how many jobs were posted in the last 1 day, in the last 7 days, in the last 30 days to give you a sense of the volume. A lot of them are real jobs that are posted where people need product managers because growth is continuing. Even though layoffs have happened, growth continues. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret that even when companies do layoffs, they are still hiring new people because guess what? Layoffs for companies, for tech companies, and really for any corporate big companies are just a way to eliminate the expenses that are associated with personnel and also get rid of people that are really not as much of contributors to the organizations, at least from the perspective of the organization. Obviously, mistakes are made, but I think probably a big bulk of the layoffs are from people that have not done well in the company. Of course, anecdotally and experientially, we've all seen folks that have been rated as good performance, good ratings trajectory, still laid off. So it doesn't necessarily protect you from being laid off. So let's actually forget for a moment this the emotional part of the layoffs for a second, and just I want to explain to you how it works from a company's perspective. When they do this, they lose costs, so they drop costs. So there's an immediate benefit, and there's a longer term benefit in that they become more profitable. And usually these are public companies, so investors will reward them usually, because once you become more profitable, you become more lucrative as a stock. Therefore, stock goes up if it is seen as a better investment in the future. So it's kind of like a win-win for companies to do this. However, the downside is if suddenly you cannot bring on additional talent to do the things that you need, because you still need to power growth. You still need to run your products. You still need to compete. So how do you do that? Well, they just keep on hiring. They do it usually for a month or so. They lay off the hiring, especially if it's a layoff that has not happened in a long time, like for instance the big tech companies did in 2022, 2023. But then within a month after that, you're hiring slowly, and then you ramp up to regular levels. And nowadays, when we're in the cycle of the layoffs expected territory, companies are just hiring all the time. So you might have Google, Facebook, Amazon announce layoffs, and in the same week inside PCA we will get callbacks for PM roles at those companies. And I'm sorry if that does not align with your sensibilities, but I'm just trying to explain it to you from the company's perspective. We know that layoffs themselves are not exactly connected to new hiring. New hiring is done when a company wants to figure out how it's going to increase investor returns in the short and long term. So they want to hire product people because they think that product people can organize the rest of the cross-functional team together. That's really how this thing works. Is these companies generate a certain revenue and a certain profitability for their investors. Every year they grow that revenue, they grow that profitability in order to meet or exceed investor expectations, in order to continue funding, in order to continue bringing in new investment, which appreciates the underlying stock. So maybe we covered a little bit too much here, but all I'm trying to tell you is that product management is essential in order to bring new revenue for investor returns. So they're going to continue hiring product managers. But for now, just rest assured that the product manager job, especially in top tech, is not going anywhere. And then the second piece that I identified for you is that when we're entering a more fiscally conservative time, layoffs are expected. It's sort of the year of efficiency every year, like Meta and Amazon say. But the hiring will continue during times of layoffs. So this is just what we've seen. Now, in terms of the quality side of things, we know that the quantity is there. There are jobs available. So if you're looking for a new job, you should be able to have plenty of shots on goal, so to speak. You'll have plenty of roles to choose from. Yes, the competition could be broad and could be fierce, but that's why you have to put in additional effort, not just in the interview side of things, but also in the resume, outreach, networking, LinkedIn optimization, profile optimization, and of course the behavioral story prep, interview preparation, everything, the whole package. From a quality perspective, we are still seeing a growth in compensation. So if you're in the bucket of PMs that are earning from $100,000 to $150,000, $200,000 a year, know that there is another bucket of PMs that are making $400,000 to $700,000 to $1 million a year, and who consider that the norm. And the companies consider this normal and appropriate as well. So just like I don't want you to be oblivious to the fact that jobs are available, even though it feels like layoffs are everywhere, jobs are available. The second thing I want you to know is that high compensation is also available. And the difference between PMs that are making $500,000 and $700,000 a year and PM that's making $150,000 at a startup is nothing. There's no difference. There's just the difference of you refusing to accept that that is the reality. I'm sure I'm going to get some comments on this or some DMs on this where people just don't believe me. And that's fine, but the point of this whole channel and our work that we do online is just to tell you, if you are a product manager, this is the reality. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.